Good afternoon. My name is Mike O'Meara. I'm the president of the New York State Association of PBAs. And I just want to talk to you, the press, and I want to talk to the police officers. 375 million interactions with the public every year. 375 million interactions. Overwhelmingly positive responses. Overwhelmingly positive responses. But I read in the papers all week, we all read in the papers, that in the black community, mothers are worried about their children getting home from school without being killed by a cop. What world are we living in? That doesn't happen. It does not happen. I am not Derek Chauvin. They are not him. He killed someone. We didn't. We are restrained. And you know what? I'm saying this to all the cops here. Because you know what? Everybody's trying to shame us. The legislators, the press, everybody's trying to shame us into being embarrassed about our profession. Well, you know what? This isn't stained by someone in Minneapolis. It's still got a shine on it. And so do theirs. So do theirs. Stop treating us like animals and thugs and start treating us with some respect. That's what we're here today to say. We've been left out of the conversation. We've been vilified. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Trying to make us embarrassed of our profession. 375 million interactions. Overwhelmingly positive. Nobody talks about all the police officers that were killed in the last week in the United States of America, and there were a number of them. We don't condone Minneapolis. We roundly reject what he did as disgusting. It's disgusting. It's not what we do. It's not what police officers do. Our legislators abandoned us. The press is vilifying us. Well, you know what, guys? I'm proud to be a cop. And I'm going to continue to be proud to be a cop until the day I retire. And that's all I have to say. Good afternoon. My name is Mike O'Meara. I'm the president of the New York State Association of PBAs. And I just want to talk to you, the press, and I want to talk to the police officers. 375 million interactions with the public every year. 375 million interactions. Overwhelmingly positive responses. Overwhelmingly positive responses.
Saying once the looting starts, the shooting starts. You have a president talking about the Second Amendment as a use for people to come out here and use firearms against the people that are protesting. This is the messages that we're seeing. I don't know if you on social media because the news don't tell you everything. But you have to pay attention to what's going on, or else we have a president that's trying to incite a race war. And when the borders are closed, we can't leave. You have people in here that need your help. This is when you and y'all stand together with the community, with society, to stop the governmental oppression. Period. We need you. So then march with us. March beside us. You get your people. Y'all march beside us. March beside us. March beside us. Let the revolution be televised. March beside us and show us that you're here for us. Make history with us, please. Let's just do it. March with us. We'll start marching, and you march with us. Please.
Just do it.
Do it. Just come on. Be the change. Do it. Please. Do it. Please. We are good people. March with us.
Make you a deal.
March with us.
I can't leave this post. I will march through this street with you guys to that next intersection.
I don't know.
I'll march from this intersection to that intersection, but I have to control this right here.
Control. What is it, the control, man? March with us. It was send a huge message. We just march with us. March the whole round with us. March you and your men. Y'all protect us. Protect us. Y'all march with us. March around like we just did. Do that march with us. Y'all stand beside us. No, you don't, because you the protector. So if you can't patrol yourself. If it's you that's supposed to be patrolling us, then walk with us.
I'm also protecting some of these businesses.
Okay.
But can you do
I'm
me
at
a
a loss,
favor?
man. I'm
Can
at
you
a
do
loss
me a
'cause it's
favor?
not
Can you
enough.
take a kneel? Can you take a kneel?
I don't know. They ain't enough for me.
Let me see you
They
take
ain't
a
enough
kneel.
for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me see you take a
They
kneel.
ain't enough for me.
Let me see you take a kneel. Let me see you take a kneel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Together. Let's all do it together. Come on. Everybody, let's all do it together. You against George Floyd, take a kneel. Let's all do it together.
Oh, y'all in the back, take a knee. Take a knee.
You standing up, we thinking you really go. Come on, take a
Mark
kneel.
with us. Mark with us.
Can you take a kneel?
I don't know. They ain't enough for me.
Let me see you
They
take
ain't
a
enough
kneel.
for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me see you take a
They
kneel.
ain't enough for me.
Let me see you take a kneel. Let me see you take a kneel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Together. Let's all do it together. Come on. Everybody, let's all do it together. You against George Floyd, take a kneel. Let's all do it together.
Oh, y'all in the back, take a knee. Take a knee.
You standing up, we thinking you really go. Come on, take a
Mark
kneel.
with us. Mark with us.
I absolutely support your guys' right to protest. I absolutely support that. But we need to stay here because this is where all of our supplies are. This is where all of our
Everybody take a knee.
Everybody
take a knee.
I can't march.
Take a knee, and that's respect. That's fucking respect.
a real big message.
I know.
And it brings me back to the point of, Louis, you can speak up and make a real big impact now and a real big difference. I'm making a difference by becoming a successful businessman as a black man. I'm making a difference by becoming a successful businessman coaching middle-aged white people. I'm making a difference by having this raw and unapologetic approach and being accepted into the NHS as a coach. I'm doing my bit without voicing an opinion. Because you've got to remember, opinions will be perceived based on how people feel. Actions cannot be misinterpreted. So for everyone that's currently online, sharing what it is they believe to be true about the situation and how we should stamp out racism, I want to ask you a question. Are you always going to wait until disaster happens in order to take the relevant action? Or are we proactively jumping on what we call the bandwagon whilst it's hot? Because it was only 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, all you were speaking about was COVID-19. Now no one's talking about it, they're talking about this situation. And I believe awareness needs to be raised, so please don't get my words twisted. But just do not wait for things to happen to such extreme extremities in order for us to all come together and make noise. Because I would call out every celebrity that has gone online and talked about it. I would call out everyone on my social media that has posted something about it. Why haven't you done it before this happened? Does it take a death to raise awareness? Does it take a death to raise awareness? Does it take a picture of a black guy being knelt on his neck till he can't breathe to raise awareness? As human beings, I want to ask us all a question, myself included. Are we neurologically wired to only change once we feel extreme pain? Or not? So if you're watching this video, I just want to explain the fact that I'm fully against racism of all kinds. It's a kind of prejudice and misunderstanding that needs to be stamped out. But also as grown adults, I believe it's time now that we raise above the stigma and the stigmatic approach towards racism and thinking it's black versus white or white versus black. It's not. It's beliefs and values that have been inherited for centuries from parents, social conditioning, media. I would go as far as saying that a percentage of racists ultimately don't even know why they're racist. But they've been born into that situation, that circumstance, and haven't had the relative influence to pull out of that way of thinking. So if we do actually want to create genuine change, I believe we've got to raise above this black versus white paradigm and start thinking about the psychology behind the people that are offending in a racist fashion. Only once we do that do we all come together, regardless of the colour of our skin or the cultural indifference. My name is Louis Davis. That was my perspective on what's gone on. And I want to, it's probably not going to hit the guy's family. I want to offer my condolences to everyone that's been affected with this situation. It's a crazy shame that as a world and as a universe, we have to experience what we have to experience. But I believe something positive will come of the situation because the awareness has now been raised. What we do from this point onwards will determine the outcome and the perspective and how we deal collectively as a community, blacks, whites, Asian, Chinese, collectively as a family, how we really deal with racism. Because I don't want blacks to stand on one side and whites to stand on the other. I don't want Indians to stand on one side and Chinese on the other. We are human beings. We must now underline new values, new beliefs, and come together as one.
Hi, my name is Frank Schaeffer. In the 1970s and 80s, I was a right-wing evangelical fundamentalist activist along with my famous evangelist father, Francis Schaeffer. We both spoke at Jerry Falwell's College and Liberty University. We were on the far-right lecture circuit all around America. When my dad died in 1984, I bailed. I changed my mind. I looked at the viciousness of the movement we were helping to found, which later devolved into the Trump presidency and the takeover of the Republican Party by far-right evangelical Christians cast in the so-called pro-life mold, which we fashioned. Today, we have a president who, in reacting to every situation that he has helped create, has made it worse. In fact, I would go so far to say, without hyperbole, that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, is a terrorist in the true sense of the word. And I mean that in exactly the same way that bin Laden was a terrorist, that ISIS is a terrorist organization. Think about this. His words have inflamed the passions of right-wing activists who have done everything, including sending pipe bombs to members of Congress, to murdering a black man by kneeling on his neck for 9 minutes in a climate in which racism is tolerated because we have a president who took out full-page ads to falsely accuse young men of rape and attempted murder when they had done no such thing, who started and perpetuated a birther movement to slime the reputation of a man running for president because he was black, and who has since had a policy of revenge against everything that man did, including the decimation of national treasures, our parks, our wildlife sanctuaries. But more than that, Donald Trump is a terrorist cast in the mold of so many terror leaders that hide in bunkers while inciting violence in others. And he has succeeded. Picture the terror felt by a mother at our border seeking asylum in our country, protection from other terrorists in her own country, having her newborn baby ripped from her arms. Picture the terror felt by a young man lying on a floor of a detention center run by ICE as he dies and begs for help and no medical help comes. These are real cases. Picture a president who has terrorized the entire people of Mexico by calling them all rapists and drug dealers. Picture a president who has terrorized consciously, consistently, black NFL players, calling them renegade and unpatriotic for taking a knee to protest violence. Picture a terrorist president who has recently terrorized the high command of the U.S. military by threatening to besmirch the reputation of the U.S. military, in which my son as a Marine served and fought in Afghanistan twice and once in Iraq, by dragging the good name of the U.S. military into a conflict with peaceful protesters. Picture a president who hides in a bunker, then emerges and orders the terrorizing, the beating, the violence against peaceful protesters, including an Australian TV crew. If that is not terrorism, what is? We have a terrorist president built around an entire life of terrorizing those less powerful than himself, taking out ads against innocent teenagers, lying about Barack Obama consistently, lying about black people and Muslims and gay people, creating fear and hate and discord, relying on conspiracy theories of exactly the kind that Al-Qaeda and ISIS trade in to try to maintain his power. Speaking as an Ayatollah in Iran would speak to passionate fundamentalist Muslims, to evangelical Christians, and stirring them up again and again into hatred, into denial of their own faith and the love preached by Jesus Christ. Donald Trump is a terrorist. Donald Trump should be dealt with as a terrorist. Donald Trump is trying to deform our electoral process by taking away the right to vote by mail, by encouraging the gerrymandering and the voter suppression of black and minority voters and young people and others, by making it difficult to have an electoral process. And I will tell you this, to assuage his wounded ego if he loses the election, watch what Donald Trump does. In revenge on the American people, like Adolf Hitler revenged himself on the German people for losing the war in a scorched earth policy where he said that everything should be destroyed before the Allies and the Russians marched in, to punish the German people for losing the war. Similarly, Trump will leave us with chaos by calling the election rigged, by refusing to leave office, by doing God knows what, this man who calls in the National Guard and federal agents directed by William Barr, this Roman Catholic activist for theocracy, cast in the mold of the Ayatollahs. This is a terror organization that has taken over the Republican Party. Donald Trump is a terrorist. Donald Trump must be defeated, the Republican Party smashed. They are no longer patriotic Americans. This is a terror organization called the Republican Party that has backed and enabled a terrorist president whose entire presidency and lifetime is built on intimidation of other people. My name is Frank Schaeffer.